Good morning, everybody. It's a challenge to start an event like that Monday morning at that time, but I very much hope you are not too tired to start with. I'm very happy as the head of the Goethe-Institut to host this event of the Heinrich Böll Stiftung Foundation. You might think that our work is very much unpolitical because the Goethe-Institut has the task to popularize German language and German culture, but your title, Europe for Everyone, is quite the same. We like to think about culture and arts. So when I only think about how difficult it is for European citizens to get registered in this country, and as well the Goethe-Institut, which seems almost not possible to get registered as an NGO, so I'm not able to think about how it is for somebody who just wants to live in Europe. So I think you've chosen a very, very important topic to discuss about in this country and in the whole region around. I wish you interesting speeches, discussions, and get together. Thank you.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for your generous hospitality to have us here in the next 2 days. So thank you. Thanks to Goethe-Institut. I would like firstly to warmly welcome you all on behalf of Heinrich Böll Stiftung office in Croatia for joining this conference, Europe for Everyone, Bridging the Gap, which is organized in cooperation with Green European Foundation in Brussels, and later tomorrow also a part of the program together with Zagreb Pride. This 2 days conference is actually part of Zagreb Subversive Forum, which is taking place this week for the whole week in Cinema Europe. And also at some other locations in the city. And this is a practice that during the days, during that week, we have a series of different forums and debates relating to different topics. One of the topics we have chosen to concentrate this time is migration. While the overall title of this year's Subversive Festival is Power and Freedom in the in Age of the Control, so we would like to actually refer issues of migration to that interpretual framework and see to which extent migration today can be interpreted and understood through the issues of power and the freedom. As we did so far, we will continue, and that's why we cooperate with Zagreb Subversive Forum. We will continue to initiate and facilitate and to foster the dialogue on the green-left spectrum in society, because we think that these alliances are needed at this moment, and particularly when it relates to issue of migration. We see the issue of migration one of the litmus tests for today European political project, and we see it also as one of the biggest challenges. Not only that the issue of migration is inevitably connected to idea of solidarity, and that's why we have this undertitle, Bridging the Gap. We also think that it is very closely connected to a bit forgotten idea of EU as the community of values, and that it also demonstrates when we see the rise of the right-wing populism across Europe. We see that the issue of migration, and particularly immigration, is one of the indicators that unfolds the momentum that idea of Europe is, as a political project, is at stake. And for us in Croatia, as a newest member country, perhaps this issue is not most urgent, most important, but we think that even more because of this situation, we have some time maybe to develop proper answers to emerging and new moments when on the political spectrum, issue of migration could become an issue, as we witness kind of new conservative tendencies in society that want to profile this country in certain direction. Of course, tackling different minorities and also social groups in an exclusionary way. What I want to underline even more is that today Croatia is heavily hit by the crisis, and of course it is not maybe the most attractive destination in Europe to be reached. It's hardly attractive, with having a third unemployment rate for youth in Croatia after Spain and Greece. But still, even as such, it is not only a station, but to some people even destination. And for those who want to survive or to shape better life conditions. And our departure point for these discussions in the next 2 days was to try to frame the political debate on migration. Of course, to some extent relying on existing policies, but the overall debate, we imagined it will be kind of referred within the framework between policy to politics. We want to see what is the actual politics of migration, what is behind current policies, what political rationales are behind, and which tendencies we can recognize to be implemented once the first monitoring mechanisms will deliver results, because we are still early at this in this regards. But in the next few years, we think that it could be quite good, and this conference aims to strengthen these ties that different scholars, activists, artists, journalists, people from different backgrounds share their views on migration issue, and actually maybe in a few years articulate kind of platform where you can really have a different type of debate on migration, which for the moment is maybe for right or wrong, mainly reduced to issue of labor migration or to issue of asylum policy. And we think that the overall debate on migration can be broader and deserves to be broader, and want to maybe explore the spectrum of topics where there is a certain need to underline arguments in a way they are not tackled at the moment at all. So before I finish, I will just try to make a really short run, fast run through the program. We will start with our keynote speaker, Silva Mežnarić, who is independent researcher, before very active as a scholar on migration issues at Institute of Migration and Minorities, and also, as I remember, University of Ljubljana. After that, we will be able to see the movie Residenzpflicht, which and later, after the movie, we will be able to have a discussion with author Denise Garcia Bergt, and together with a few other colleagues from Croatia who will provide a kind of local perspective to the content which will be in the movie, in the documentary. Sorry. After that, we will focus our discussion on asylum seekers' rights in comparative perspective, EU and Croatia, and then move to the last panel today, which will be focused very much on the political perspectives on migration issue in the country, particularly relating to the rise of right-wing populism and how it treats migration as an issue, and different instrumentalizations and abuses of this topic which have political purposes. Tomorrow we will focus very narrowly on the topic of LGBT community and LGBT related migrations in the country, but also at the European level, which this session will be conducted in cooperation with Zagreb Pride. And then we will try to pay more attention to the most popular and most visible facets of migration, the issue of Lampedusa, but we will try to actually broaden the debate on the notion of official EU policies related to refugees and to migrants, and to see how the resistance of the EU and increasing reluctance to deliberate immigration policy for the non-European countries can be improved. Last but not least, tomorrow we will try to end, but by ending, to open a new perspective on migration with a panel which will try to bring different experiences from different cities in Europe, namely Ljubljana and Hamburg, where we will try to present how self-organization of immigrant community matters to, and how it relates to potential change at the urban level, how we can imagine actually cities where we don't have exclusionary politics, or where immigrants actively shape the future of their urban environments. That, of course, connects on the topic of migration with other topics. Maybe I would say too early for developments here, at least at the level of recognition of problem, but probably in the next few years this will be, I believe, a more than relevant topic. So thank you for your attention. Although we would not like to stimulate you using your laptops, just that you know that Wi-Fi passwords are here for the Wi-Fi connection if it's necessary. And now I would like to pass the floor to Silva Mežnarić and to the keynote speech. Thank you.
My keywords are really keywords, so I will just make a list of topics I think have not to wait, as Vedran would have it, some future to be tackled. They are already obsolete here at that moment and should be tackled immediately. That's why I think that we are part of subversiveness in Zagreb at the moment, and I think that I would like to point out that maybe I'll have the keywords and the keynotes and approach a little bit subversive in relation to predominant paradigm in migration perspective here, not in Europe, and in Europe partly. Science is always subversive. There is no science without subversiveness. But migration is not always science. Migration is in its analytical, a major part, social analysis and policy. And it should be, and as I see here from this program, maybe approached that way. Policy-wise, and in a little determinative part, science-wise. What could be subversive here? on migration field at that moment here in this part of Europe. First of all, subversive could be even the framework of analysis. Subversive can be facts. Subversive could be even a little move towards more instructive framework or platforms of analysis. And this is exactly what migration and analytical tools and approaches have to do here at that moment. It's unbelievable. I'm listening, reading common streetwise approaches to the danger of emigration from Croatia on daily basis. Even this morning, one of my former institute's members has been on in the prime time, Radio 1, speaking about that. There is no journalist worth mentioning who did not, even rock criticals, are approaching the topic of migration today in Croatia. And what's surprising, absolutely, this obsolete, conservative, not productive schemes of analysis. There are simple facts about subversiveness concerning, let's say, subversiveness of migration analysis today in Croatia and in Europe. First of all, there is no immigration. There is mobility within the common labor and social space in Europe, in Croatia today. And one can not even hear this word of mobility within the same framework, which is, of course, due to our association platforms, heavily regulated, but has the arrangement of 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 or minus that will anytime succumb to the reality of labor force mobility in Croatia. So I would like, at least in this limited, small, but perfect audience, to point out that we are not talking about classical schemes of push, pulls, closed space as Croatia, as the conventional analysis has the petite state of Croatia approaches. So we are on internal mobility field in Europe. And such a subversive, even if it's not, statement determines a totally different approach in migration analysis. For doing business in this field that way from this platform, you have to know, of course, all regulations, arrangements, that means a big picture of mobility, who's receiving whom and why, and all obstacles the nationalist European regimes are putting down now. And you have to know, secondly, and maybe to have a priority in this analysis, a underground currents, a human agent beneath this big structural picture. And this is exactly what sociology, anthropology, economics have to do. And this is not subversive. This is even in a certain way conventional, but it's not present at the moment here. This is what I've extracted from the from the intro of the workshop. In a way, I would like to go quickly through some stereotypes, even in this introduction to the whole workshop. First of all, said also there was somewhere that in a that we have now different experiences in migration related to 70s and 80s, where former Yugoslavia new immigration streams. No, that's not true. There were no immigration streams into Yugoslavia in mentioned decades. There was emigration, of course. Yugoslavia has been as a major power on the labor market in Europe on second or third place with so-called economic migrants, challenging somewhere in Europe today or as a first, second or third generation, becoming the part of so-called diaspora in Europe. Okay, but why is this important? It's important because all you will have in these 2 days here, there is always, when you have immigration streams, some kind of knowledge how to regulate them, how to approach them. There was no knowledge, and there is no knowledge in relation to immigration, either from 70s, 80s in former state or in today's Croatia, because there is always continuity in this kind of knowledge. There is nothing here. So we are all policy-wise in immigration field to Croatia or through Croatia on blank platforms. Nothing's there. It should be built up. And what's different now? The difference now in relation to former state and in relation to 90s in Croatia is the common market, labor market, the common market of knowledge, of social arrangements, of social reforms, of development. Some major decisions are made out of this space, not in, and this should be taken into account. Current policies of immigration, who's behind and when, at what point? Mostly police. They are major regulator of all streams, and this is not bad. This is a nuisance, but it's necessary, and this is not policy. There is nothing here, especially on the field you are going to deal with. And the major question here now, when building up kind of approach of science, of social analysis of migration, and building up a reaction towards possible immigration problems here in Croatia, we have, I'm sorry to say, it's ideological, but we have to choose a side, left or wing, or left or right. Because we are not the only one doing this, that the whole Europe is under this sign. Left, I will show later a little bit, has some ideas. Left Europe, social democratic Europe, whatever it means today, articulated certain ideas how to approach generally within Union the immigration and immigrants within the European Union, possible, putative, and current. So far, from the right side, we have seen only public demonstrations, pathetic words, pathetic approaches, and lamentations of identities, demographic losses, etc., etc. This is what actually, on daily basis, in all Croatian newspapers and mass media. Pathetic, all not analytically potent framework for how to approach a brain drain or drain from Croatia today, and how to stop the immigration which currently is not here. What right is arguing that is. I agree that we have to go, I don't know who are we, but I suppose a public scene now here at the beginning, we have to go against instrumentalization of migration issues and what are the ways of migration issues being instrumentalized. The old conventional schemes of analysis, like I mentioned, are the main instruments here because they are very close to the common heart, to the street men and women, and to the journalists, of course. They always have something to say about losing the population and losing identities and the cultural determinants of identity through migration, out-migration from Croatia and immigration to Croatia. Now, what would be, let's say, if we move forward, what priority we will give and to what in anti-instrumentalization, which means a explanation, and what would be main explanatory domains to move forward in analysis of migration. There are two fields. There are always three fields of analysis mentioned since the beginning of migration science in the 19th century: demography, economics, and politics. Demography is somehow always subterranean and has to be tackled somehow at a certain moment of analysis, but it certainly is not, and it's losing the momentum determinant in all the endeavor to analysis. What is important is the crossroad of economics and politics in approaching migration today. Even all the immigration streams we are talking about now. And this is new. This is even subversive because they were not, economics and politics, very interested so far in what's happening in migration. Maybe sometimes big names like Simon Kuznets approached migration from the big pictures, structural movements, cross-Atlantic movements and immigration, but generally we stopped there. And then politics came over and says this and that policy-wise, and that's all. We do not have serious analytical tools in this on the crossroads of two fields of analysis, which we are going to have and need to have now in the future. Inequality, generally talking, is the major and the most important information we have as a, or we are going to have as a trigger to all migration streams. And inequality is now coming into big picture of the crossroads of economics and politics today. As I put here down, we have now, at that moment, we have been fortunate to have three major economic stars, even one rock star in economics like Piketty Thomas, talking about this. Inequality connected to migration, to movement of people from all parts of underdeveloped or even rather developed parts of the world, of the globe, towards centers, certain centers in this globe. And that's why this frame of reference, of analysis, from here, starting today, should be moved towards some basic concepts as inequality is. What does it mean for, let's say, Croatia's population? It's not only income. It's not only unemployment. And solutions to face the major streams of migration are not to be searched exclusively within economics, economy of certain regions or state. Is not the, as at Kuznets' time, only domain of economy. This formula, research and growth, creates fast polarization in the world, The polarization is not only economy. There are all kinds of misunderstandings and misfortunes revolving around growth and rich people in the world. And as Krugman would have it, it will be this gap, and we are talking about gaps as a major trigger for migration, would be is widening, and the rich and poor countries or regions of the world will go apart faster and faster. Now, one of what inequality is putting us within the central new questions for instance, if there are other things than wages that are informing and feeding the new rich segments of the world, like inheritance, rents, investments, etc., in relation to labor movements and migration of people from various parts of the globe, what can we say? What are the main triggers then within this inequality story? We still do not know. We have to search for in order to maybe construct the policies or different society would be maybe a new answer to migration streams. Who is exactly on receiving and on supplying sides of migration? At the moment, within the conventional platform of analysis, we do not know that for sure. Take only European Union. What would be then bridges required for regions, European regions, and globally to bridge the gap and to somehow to approach migration, the gap in between rich and poor in, let's say, only Europe. Recently, these analyses are not began, but decades they were all in neglected. What to do? How? And basic questions we have to answer, maybe within the science of migration analysis. How the same or similar political issues concerning migration are perceived in different parts of Europe or in Africa for that matter. Do you people now at that moment know why human agent individually, why they are moving toward Lampedusa? Is there any answer? Is there somebody there in Central Africa or in Northern Africa interviewing people, making research, knowing what's happening? No, it's all left to stereotypes. Okay, issues are so important when people are moving out of Africa that could be generalized for the moment, but not long run. Now, what I see as very important in this workshop is that what you can talk about that. What are progressive solutions or regressive burdens to approach the human agency in migration and policy of migration? And where are, within this workshop, let's say, connection points for discursive alliances among us, which would be needed in any kind of productive approach to migration, or maybe a common conceptualization, which is needed. We do not have other forums for that. Now, one possible answer, what to do European-wise to develop a new platform for migration as a part of societies here would be, I think, a new London School of Economics project called Good Society Project, envisioned by Henning Meyer in 2014. I call it GSP, could be, as they say, a group of thinkers thinking about that. Could be a hub, toolbox of policy guidance for creating bridges I was talking about, and for creating or extruding the best practices for continuous adaptation of national contexts to migration issues. Continuity is here the major word that should be explanatory in the future. And what does it mean? GSP, Good Society Project, is determined to reforming left or social democratic project of Europe, because it's a, they say, and I think so, it's a platform how to respond to migration problems, issues in Europe. Social democratic, democratic part of or tradition within European community. Why we do not have any response so far to the problem Europe is and we are faced with in migration policy? Because social democracy, which is a natural habitat for migration policies or analysis, social democracy was, as they say, totally unprepared for what happened after 2008 in Europe. Intellectually, there was no alternative project or approach what to do with these streams and labor force coming from, for instance, new members of European unity. At the moment, in only a couple of years, the situation is totally different, and the solutions for the problems request bold decisions, unthinkable of only a couple of years ago. And I think that people are not realizing this, especially not in Croatia. I mean, talking about Croatian social democracy, by the way. What is it? The alternative to the integration politics in Europe, and we are in danger here of developing the same thing, is emerging because of all failures of social democratic projects, slowly as renationalization of attitudes toward migration and different people, different segments of society in Europe. Now, what would be this new Good Society project in relation to different segments of culturally, as we talk about migrants, in migration or emigration or new Europe? Thorough value-driven analysis of current problems contextualized as common. So the comparison between all other European members and Croatia, for instance, is absolutely needed. The response of a good society as a basis for that should be, and I agree with this maybe big words, but should be democratic participation of all in this response towards migrants, commune-based mutual interdependence of all members of communities, and plural. People have to realize, have to be informed that plurality is vitality, is vital for our development, as always diversity is. And these three grounds to be active in immigration policy, which means participation of all, community-based, mutual interdependence of all community members, I mean local community members, and knowledge about diversity and its usefulness should be developed as basic stuff here for any sound migration policy in Croatia, and we still do not have it. You are at the beginning, as I see, and the workshop here, and that will be a very, let's say, instructive for it's vital to say that NGOs, of course, role in all this is vital, is absolutely crucial, because they governments or local governments, for that matter, are not going to do it. Participation of all, community-based actions, and diversity as a basic platform for cultural development. Now, let's move a little bit to the individual, our common agent in migrant on the street. She perceives, take any member of Croatian community, let's say society, between 15 and 55 today, at that moment. She perceives inequality and internalizes it as a major trigger for migration and decision-making model on individual basis. She perceives inequality instantly, every second, on the screens, all kinds of screens, on cell phone, in the public traffic. That's a major difference between now and 10 years ago. Kids, youngsters are growing up, are socialized into polarized world, globally, regionally, locally. They see rich, they see poor, they see possibilities in between. It's new. And disparities once perceived and lived through at home, people are seeing solutions elsewhere, on the screens as well, day in, day out. Imagine these decision-making models instantly. You could hear it everywhere. Journalists would say, everyone is going out. No, they're thinking about that. Perception of possibilities is here. The decision-making model is another. It's not easy, but information is at hand. But what migrants now do not know, generally, all of them, are skills employers want now, which are not transparent, what they want on the new labor markets in Europe. This is gray area, not regulated, not covered by bilateral, multilateral rules of exchange or circulation, but recruitment from Croatia as well is high, and people are living on exactly these bases. This is what we call brain drain. Only that. And it's based on top. I've done it. I've been going through net yesterday. What are the top 6 work skills universally sought after now in immigration policies in Europe and in immigration thinking of the, let's say, Croatian members going out? Flexibility on the individual level, adaptability of the individual effective communication skills, so you all know that. Problem-solving abilities, creativity, interpersonal skills, and the teamwork. Who are the prior candidates for that? Footballers. You can see them all in that. Because the algorithm of language is not crucial for them, as for others. So this kind of people are exchangeable and adaptable immediately. And I'm finishing with this. We are going to move, even on this level, I mean, on the individual platform analysis of decision making to migrate or not, we have to be subversive in a way and move analytical frame towards a new profile of people wanted on European labor markets, not only labor market, in European societies. Typical profile is that on individual level, in the decisive things in profile are 1/3 of what employers want in individuals is training, 1/3 is education, and 1/3 is creativity. Which means that education alone, what is a typical journalistic approach, is not the major determinant of brain drain and moving out. Training, some experience is important, but creativity is on the same level. And this could be accomplished by secondary schooling early, so high school, good candidates with some language command as well. And this is what we are going to see in 2 years, maybe, and are seeing already now in Croatia's emigration or mobility towards Europe. The same profile, maybe, from other labor markets is going to immigrate to Croatia from southern part of former state or the new members of the European Union as well. This is all open, but in order to predict or maybe to have different scenarios of immigration policy, we have to move our analytical schemes somewhere else from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your keynote lecture. I think that it provides us with very solid instruments to continue our debate, but I would like to ask you if you have any direct questions or comments to react now, while we will soon have to proceed with the documentary, but we have some minutes to discuss our very urgent questions. After that, we will be able to relate to many of the points made by Silva.
It was really very impressive presentation. But there is one question which I would like to ask you. What's about the role of international multinational documents regarding migration? For instance, about UN International Convention of the Promotion and Protection of Migrant Workers and their members of families. You didn't mention any international document which should be relevant in discussing migration policy, or we have to criticize just to be bureaucratic document as a result of politician or just a moment in developing a migration policy.
I think that no. What I know, all the documents concerning all kinds of migration are the part of local, which means national legislation now. So they should be, by all means, of course they must be, so they should be taken into account in designing whatever migration policy you can envisage in Croatia today. So it's a start. It's certainly a start. All kinds of documents. It's not complicated to have the whole list and to see what so far all these agencies dealing with migration have done in this field. In decision making on the police level or whatever, I hope they are taking this into account. Should. If not, there is Strasbourg. I mean, it's a law. It's a uredba, if it's translated into Croatian. I have not. I mean, certainly there are people who have been through all this. What we've gained from the European regulators, what is now the part of local legislation in total concerning migration. But you can easily check it. So this is a document, and if it's obligatory, you should stick to it. It's not a part of. It's not a part of the NGOs or whatever. It's a government. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, you and me, we know the former regulations of migration as well. We've been in the business for a very long time. And migration field, whatever, policy, analytical tools, analytical procedures, science, in Croatia is a jungle. They are even now re-evaluate, and they are, I mean, ministries and parliament attacking the only institution we have for this analysis. Okay, there were some mistakes, but who's dealing with this? A very expensive agency with migration policies now on these levels I mentioned. It's expensive, very well-endowed agency established by Hrvatska Matica Iseljenika and the parliament, and they are supposed to know all this, what we are talking about. But their goals are misleading. They are occupying themselves only with Croats abroad, not with Croatian citizens abroad, and with all kinds of policies concerning them. So they are not occupying with immigration streams, and they are paid for, and they were established like this. And that's all I can say. I suppose, and we all have to suppose, that European legislation concerning migration is now the part of Croatian legislation, and should be, of course, somehow applied.
Okay, thank you. One more, Paul Stubbs and Emina, and
So the banks for migration inequality. But I really wanted to say a little bit more about the impact of the crisis on migration. Partly because if you look at places like Spain and Portugal, there is now new migration out of Europe into foreign policy. And I ask you this way because a logic of what you say, which would be hard enough in itself, is the idea that we need to take seriously the European policy. But actually, new patterns of migration out of Europe suggest that even that will be
Yeah, the former giving Spanish emphasis on the former colony. Because I know for fact what kind of immigration policies are being. Oh, I said sorry. Okay, but you can hear me. Brazil is now really employing people. Portuguese people, high qualified personnel is working on transatlantic schemes, traveling around, especially because of this. And next year, lots of people got employed from Europe in on FIFA's ground. For football, what we expect to be the whole football prvenstvo, World Championship. Yeah. Well, that's anecdotal, but yeah, they are streaming towards forming colonies because of language community, first of all, and it's okay. What Croatians Croatians are simply following their traditional paths. Now, European market is a little bit selective, and some were closed for the time being. So they are going to Canada, of course, Australia, and New Zealand. This is what's actually really, ample of individuals going there, because there are different criteria, and they are receiving exactly. So they are using their old networks, and inequality or equality is perceived even on transatlantic global relations, which is easy. No? Inequality, social policies, yeah.
Okay, we have one more, and I would say for the moment last one question, Emina.
I was wondering if you could maybe more precisely connect two things you said about consequences of migration today. First, you mentioned renationalization of different European societies, and this is a very interesting pattern to observe. On the other hand, you've also mentioned new possibility of new democratic social project, which would be more connected to integration policies and different integration sentiments within society. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit more, how do you see that? How do we actually fight renationalization and bring to the agenda different solidarity and more open platforms of integrating migrants in different societies? Thank you.
I'm a real fan of new Good Society project. It sounds really a little bit too far-fetching in contemporary Europe, but it's a good start, I would say. And it's finally, what is discrepancy between renationalization, which means nationalistic reactions towards a different agency within national borders. Yeah? This is for me renationalization, implying even an official legislation and policies. Okay, and on the other hand, this is a current affair of European Union, really, members of its members. On the other way, we have this finally think tank. It's only think tank. It's always miserable things to have think tanks around. But finally, a group of economists and all kinds of profiles within not such an unimportant institution as the London School of Economics, and in Britain, of course, decided to do something, to move an approach towards migration. I have to say, in England, which is now cooking itself in this plot, yeah, to move things from sporadic NGOs action, from sporadic caritative actions of local groups, to major schemes of reforms of the value system. So, economic moment, okay. Legislature, political moment, okay. But what they've detected as a major problem is a value system within societies, which is formed that way, let's say, Britain, but there is no excuses for others in Europe, that is feeding renationalization. This connection should be reformed, should be approached differently, starting from the kindergartens, we know that. And this is maybe big picture, big activity, but it's not difficult at all to envisage what should be done immediately on the ground. You know why it's not difficult? Because of all this tradition of NGO action, including you here. including Subversive Festival. There is a lot of experience how to do things from the roots up. If you have a major scheme somewhere, let's say this social democratic story of good society project, somewhere to lead you, so you can reform, you can attack renationalized schemes if you have a major project behind you. Why are you doing this? And what could be consequences and direction of your action? Not only street and happenings, etc., etc. I'm not talking about NGOs dealing with migration, but should somehow the common scheme should be behind. And it's a good start to attack current social democracy in Europe from that point. Because they are dealing with it. They are renationalized as well. Look at major regulators of labor market, for that matter, or migration policies within a particular members. They are all very gladly in the business of building the borders. Invisible, maybe, but we know they are there. And that's the case of Croatia as well. Why? Because Croatia is doing nothing, literally nothing, on the level of government. So you have right-wingers on the streets doing what their business is, protesting against and leaving stuff there for the next elections. What is the major part good part of this project is, maybe 1 minute, they, among other things, they pointed out that policy, good society policy, let's say concerning migration, should be moved from reactive towards transformational. What it means? It means that social democrats or all these big schemes are doing their business from public opinion polls to public opinion polls. They stick to this kind of public reactions. Produced in Europe, they've produced so-called electoral customer. Reaction of the electorates is feeding their policies, and that's all. So from 1 to 4th year of government, this is typical case here. Whatever you see in the public arena in Croatia, you have polls. You have polls, you have public opinions, you have electoral custom now at this moment being formed towards right of wing or whatever. So a new paradigm of approach, good society, let's say, approach to democracy would be to feed democracy, to feed citizen with new information, and not making making him active, her active all the time, not only for the certain points in time where electoral custom comes to forefront. So I see this transgression between renationalization and new activity as being based on experiences we have so far in public arena actions here, but with direction and goal, universally driven, let's say.
Thank you. We didn't want to lose the privilege to at least have some of the debate directly after the keynote, but since we are a bit behind of the schedule, I suggest that now we continue with the documentary screening. Immediately after the documentary, we will be able to discuss with the author of a documentary, which is now with us, and with other few colleagues about the reception of the documentary in our context. So in order to save some time, I suggest that we start with the screening.